And we're back here once again with another episode of the MSK show. And this is going to be episode 228. So I hope you guys had a great day. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your week that is ahead of you. And you guys are most likely watching and listening to this episode of the MSK show after it ended airing live, most likely on Friday. And if you are watching and listening to this episode of the MSK show on Friday, watching the replay, then I hope you guys have a great weekend. And in this episode of the MSK show, we just have one topic tonight. This was a topic that came up in the discussions amongst like comic book Twitter, let's just say, and Bleeding Cool actually had an article come out about it. And I was like, you know what? This is information that we've been trying to basically get for quite some time. And Rich Johnson, despite being a very interesting individual, let's just say that, has some connections because he is a complete lip-tarded moron. So they probably told him this information, honestly. If you say you can be a Looney Tune and you can be non-binary, you're essentially in the industry. Actually, if you say Kamala Harris should have beat Donald Trump, if you say you voted for Joe Biden, if you say you watch The View and you love Whoopi Goldberg and you love men in dresses, you love men going into women's bathrooms, you're in. They're like, yeah, more the merrier. Let's just go fully down this rabbit hole. DEI hires, we do it. Also, it's crazy. If a lot of people have this thing that DEI hires is a good thing for like jobs and everything, then why do they take it like an insult? It's crazy. If you call someone a DEI hire, they take it like an insult, but it's like, hey, then that's probably why it's not as a good thing.
Yeah,
you kind of factor
the implication of the name should, it's that should concern you. It's like, it should be, all hiring should be done off of merit. And, it's just.
I thought that was. That should go without saying. That like there's things in life that should just be self-explanatory, but apparently now on the internet we have to literally start from square one all the way up here and work our way down to basic logic. And then when you're at the basic logic, then you have to unravel all the bullshit in someone's brain. It's like someone should just be hired because they're good at the job, not because of the color of their skin. That's just go without saying. But you have people that'll be like, but it's good to see like black people doing this. I don't know if people understand this in life, dude. What if certain groups of people just don't want to do that job? Like you don't see a bunch of black congressmen because black people would rather do the crime than solve the crime. It's kind of what it is, honestly. Like you won't really see a lot of black politicians like that because either black people decided collectively, we're not going to do that job, or we're going to do the crime. That's why when you see a black politician or a man or a woman, you're like, wow, that's interesting. It's because this is another thing people don't factor when it comes to jobs. People want like diversity of like skin color, but diversity of outcome is what they really aren't really thinking about. So like, since there's more white people than black people in a job, if you have one, you're going to see more white people because they're the majority, guys. I think people really don't think how and understand how life really works there, but it's okay. I just people are just dumb, man. It's just really stupid. like why don't I see enough black women doing this job? It's because, well, that's probably not the target demographic of a job for them. Like you won't see a bunch of like male daycare workers. That's mostly a woman thing. You would think of women as like daycare providers. WZ, what's up, man? Oh, Warren's
up, WZ.
Yeah, man. I think MSK is trying to say something, but I can't be bothered to listen. I hate it.
I'm just letting you go on that, right? Like it's like I'm just silently giggling.
God, man. See, yeah, James says you're a bully. WZ is he's gotten so much clout from me. He needs me. I'm like, he's like that.
He's the man. He's awesome.
Jay Biddy is my goat. You hear this, man? Because I don't. Oh my God, it's crazy. How would you come to that conclusion, WZ, if you couldn't hear me? Just saying. But how's your day been, man?
It's been good. It was got off early from work and got a couple pages penciled and just been relaxing and working on comics. It's what I always do. Work on comics because I don't go outside except to work.
Yeah. Bags that I get when I order DoorDash every once in a while, the tagline for some of the companies that obviously do it, which is most of them, the tagline is going outside is overrated.
It is. I don't go outside. I just stay in here and draw coffee cups and cigarettes fighting robots all day.
You got to go outside, man. You got to feel the fresh air
No, I
on
got
your
some.
body.
I open up a window and I got vitamin D in case, so I don't need sunlight. I'm fine.
What about
DoorDash will bring me food. I'm good.
you got Uber Eats if you don't need DoorDash? Oh my God, this man's crazy. So, like, what about when you go to like a supermarket, like you go to like a Walmart or something?
Well, I mean, if I have to, I try to go and just get in there and get out as quick as possible. Because
And then, do you know what happens? Generally, when that happens, man, you go to like a Walmart or whatever in your city, and then like people you've known your entire life are there, and they'll ask you the same shit they probably asked you every single time they've seen you. They're like, "How you been, man? I thought you were dead." And I'm like, "What in the world would give you that type of implication that I was dead?"
yeah,
We're not even friends. I barely know you. I only know of you in my life. We're not like close people. And then you'll be like family members sometimes, and they'll be like, "Oh, how's your brother? Yeah, he's older. We're adults now. We move on with our lives." Like the worst small talk ever comes from people like that. You'll be like checking out your items with the cashier, and then someone will look at you like cockeyed like this, and you're like, "What the fuck are you?"
yeah,
That,
it'll bother you for the rest of the day too. It's like, why'd they look at me like that? What the fuck?
yeah, it's like, dude, we're just checking out our items. Like, what the fuck? Holy shit. That's why
Yeah,
I
I live
don't
in a
like self
town.
checkouts.
Yeah,
I can't stand self checkouts. I'd rather someone just do it for me, honestly.
I live in a town that's small enough where I can't go outside without running into someone that I don't really want to talk to, that really want to talk to me. When I lived in Vancouver, which was like 3 or 4 times the size of where I'm living now, I could go into Walmart and not run into anyone that I knew. It was
Mhm.
fucking awesome. You just get in there and get out. But yeah, here though, it's like you go outside and it's just like instantly, it's like, oh God, don't recognize me, don't recognize me. Oh fuck, they recognize me.
Oh God.
Antisocial for life.
It costs almost double to get DoorDash now. It's crazy. Yeah, yeah.
Oh
Like
yeah, I joke about it, but I don't fucking go DoorDash anymore. I'll go drive to get it. Fuck that.
you know what's crazy? I live so close to this shit. If I just walk maybe 20 minutes down the street, it's all there. I'd rather just do
Yeah,
that sometimes. And to be fair, I like going outside and walking and listening to music anyway. So it doesn't bother me. But like if I'm really, really tired after work and I don't want to make any food, I'll DoorDash it and I'll try to keep it under like $40, honestly, Because I know
good
like
luck.
people, yeah, like it's very hard. It's hard.
It's like
It's
a
literally,
bottle of water from McDonald's is like
yeah. So like if I wanted
$52.
Little Caesars pizza, I could go to the building, just walk down there and get it. 2 pizzas for like $22.95 tax, right? If I ordered it off DoorDash, 2 pizzas, just two, it's $40. I'm like, no, I'm walking down there and getting it. I'd rather just do that, honestly.
Yeah, you'll be in better shape too because you're walking some calories off as you go to buy pizza to put thousands back more into you.
Oh God, man! Like, oh, dude, life's insane. But I do enjoy having the aspect of America. People don't understand how good we have it here in
Oh
this
yeah,
country.
definitely.
Like like that's the one thing that'll really always just make me go insane is when women say, "Oh, it's so bad here in America. It's so bad." And it's like, if you think it's really bad here, go live in Saudi Arabia. The Taliban banned women just last year for having friends. I'm not kidding. You can't even have basic human contact if you're a woman. And people say, and women say they have no rights here. You can't even have human contact over there.
It's one of the problems here is we don't realize how good we have it. If you talk to a combat vet, the stuff that they've seen over there, just over like in Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, all those areas, it puts a whole new perspective on things. And even our homeless would be considered middle class in some countries with access they have just with food stamps and stuff along those lines. So yeah, it's we definitely do take for granted our situations here. I think for sure.
How dare people try and catch up with me? I don't want to be caught up with. I'm going to the store. I'm trying to get. I got banana bread. I got some chips. And I got some chicken wings, some ranch flavored chicken wings, and then I got a new tripod for my smartphone because when I went and saw Thunderbolts, I was wearing the wrong pants. It dropped out. It broke. And I was like, "Fuck! I gotta go get a new one." So I went to Walmart to get that. I didn't see anyone I knew, but I went to the book section because sometimes they have like mangas and sometimes they have like the omnibuses. The omnibuses are rare to have there. They don't stock anything at our Walmart. Literally every Walmart, if I went like 30 minutes down the hill, that Walmart would have the things that I would need mostly all the time. Ours, literally, no one stocks shit there. It could be the first of the month, and that shit is still bare.
Yeah, it happens in there's 2 Walmarts in my town, and it happens in both of them. Yeah, we have 2 Walmarts. Yeah, there's like a third.
Is yours 24 hours?
No, they used to be, but we got rid of a lot of the 24 hours. Places stopped doing it during the plague.
There's no 24-hour Walmarts in California anymore. Fuck that. Yeah.
Well, plus I live in Washington State, like you do, where it's like shoplifting is essentially legal up to like $900 or some bullshit. So it's like,
and they just revoked that. Who made that as a rule?
That was just fucking one of the many dumb things our states have done over the past like 5 years.
Man uses me as DoorDash, making me drive to get him Chinese food. Hey, to be fair, that's reparations, sir. Just put it on James's tab. Don't worry. He is currently using my likelihood to make millions of dollars off me, as the white man should. But as you guys know, there's been some unfortunate circumstances, I must tell you. I'm white. I'm not joking. But here, I'll say this, because I think I said it a few episodes ago. When I did the Iron Man podcast, pretty much through Rumble, after I lost the main YouTube channel I had for a while, before I went all in with this one, I'm like DC. I went all in with this, honestly. This is our last attempt at doing this. No more reboots. I became the very thing I swore to destroy. But so on my Iron Man podcast that I just ran through Rumble, Twitch, and Twitter, I brought on a bunch of like indie creators, indie comic book creators. More specifically, I had like a few indie authors on, honestly. So if anyone wants to ever go and watch all that content, it's there on Rumble. If you want to go and search for it, it's all there. The thing is, the reason why I stopped doing a lot of them is because most of the time they couldn't converse properly. Like they couldn't hold a conversation. Then it was like, hey, I'm not saying I need anything back from promoting someone or having them on the show, but it would be like a bunch of them would have like these lists of people they would tag for people that they would go on their shows. I wouldn't even be listed. It's like I've had pretty much every single person on, and it's like the same complaints just kept getting circled for the most part. And it's like I had to really dig into what people's mindsets were. Then a lot of it, like they'll follow you, and then maybe if you have like a single difference of opinion,
yeah.
Just like literally, you could be like, "I don't believe pineapple on pizza."
It doesn't take much to trigger some of these comic creators and get them to start banning, muting, unfriending you. The Whisper Network is real, but what the Whisper Network is just essentially people who know each other talking to each other in off airs about how much they dislike the other people. I've experienced all of it. Especially being a creator in the community, you try, like when you first start making comics, you start discovering the indie comics community. You want to like be part of it, and you want to get in there, and you want their not only their approval, but you want them to be looking at you as a peer and along those lines. And you're not going to get it in that community because it's not really a community. It's little tribes, little clans of groups of people.
As they call them, high school, they call them cliques. Everyone has their own clique they mostly go to.
Yeah.
Yep.
And all everyone really cares about is getting their book out and sold and promoted. So it is kind of a real. And I don't want to sound like it's terrible. I've met a lot of cool people. I've made friends. I've been on a lot of cool shows, including this one. It's just there is also there is that cold reality where it's like, okay, I'm in this on my own, and I might meet cool people, and our paths might cross, and we might be able to do
It's like
stuff.
an anime. Our paths may cross, but
Our
I'm on
paths
my
may,
own.
yeah, but this is my OC story, and I gotta, if I want to make this work, I gotta do it on my own. And it's when you see it on the comic books Twitter, you see it on all across the way. And if we're honest, if you go into any fandoms, it's all there. It's the same kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a human thing. You know, you go to sports fandoms, they act just like comic book fandoms.
Yeah.
You know, some people treated Tom Brady like he was a god. So you know, it's just a human thing. There's a lot of that disconnect.
Well, and the other thing that comes up a lot that I've seen is that if someone, not even like, let's use Eric July, not even him, or Comicsgate, like anything out of that, like if people in, I always like put it in tiers. You had like Eric would be in his own tier, CG's in like his own different level of a tier. You have people under that. If a person in like the third tier did better than everyone else in the third tier, then people would be jealous of that person because they feel like that person stole audiences from them. Like people don't like Mike and Mindy Wheeler. I never had any issues with them. I've had them on the show before, but they get mad at them because they make money on their projects when their projects are a little, risque. People call it porn, NSFW. But if we're being honest here, they had the right approach. The only thing that is a measure of success here is getting your campaigns funded and making money. It's all that matters, making money.
Oh yeah. Now, now I won't get into how I personally, I would never do anything with Mike and Mindy Wheeler. I don't approve a lot of the way that they conduct themselves. But all of that bullshit aside, that's just personal. That aside, they do 5-figure campaigns. Whether you like what they do, whether you think the parodies are good or not, whether all of that doesn't fucking matter when they're doing $35,000, $45,000 a book and they're doing a campaign like every 2 months. You have to give them their credit for that. And they're doing it in a time period where some people are having a hard time just getting $10,000. Some people are having a hard that used to do close to 20. You have other people who have great projects and they're not even getting 1,000. So it's a tough time right now, and they're excelling. And whether you like how they do it or whether you like their product or not, that doesn't matter. Their product resonates with an audience, and they found it. It's the same way with CG, and it's Ethan, and it's the same way with Eric July. They make a product, lots of people buy it. I can't be mad at them for that and be jealous. I just have to figure out how I could do it for myself.
And then what people don't understand is it's random. Like there's not like an actual rule book step by step, game guides like back in the day where they would have like in depth, like, hey, this is what you do in the game. You go here at this level, at this point, and this level, and you get this item. You bring it back to this point. For I think audiences like nerd audiences, like with video games and comic books, it's randomized. Like there's actually, in my opinion, no real right way to do it outside of like basic steps of like where you should get. The audience just gets to decide who they support. Now, do they support the people that are actually doing quality work? Well, that's always going to be a subjective thing, though. But if enough collective people went, hey, I like that person enough to support their work, then it's like that's nothing you can do to fix that other than, like you said yourself, fix your own work, make sure it's enough to get where it needs to go,
Yeah, my failures are my own, and my where I'm at is because of what my own faults and positives. But it's like I always tell people, it's like imagine having to do 10,000 hours of work just to buy a lotto ticket, and that's kind of what being a creative is. It doesn't really matter the quality of your product. It doesn't matter how much you love it. It doesn't matter how hard you worked on it. It doesn't matter how much you've trained. If it doesn't resonate with an audience, it's not going to succeed. So, but you have to have all of that to succeed. So it's like you can't have a shitty book and do really, really, really well. There has to be something that resonates with that audience there, or something about your marketing that.
Or maybe the audience themselves just don't find it shitty. Creators don't see this as like other creators get jealous of other creators because they're getting more money and attention from an audience. But in reality, if that person likes it, they're not really, they might even see it as not that good, but if they like it enough, they're going to buy it. Like, not everything we buy in life, as far as any item, is always the best thing. Like, everyone's first cars are not the best first. They're buying like what, the basic Hondas from like 2002 was their first car. And
not only that, if you see somebody over there doing what you're doing and they're succeeding, don't get all bitter and spiteful at them. Look at what they're doing, analyze it, break it down, and figure out if there's anything that they're doing that you can add to what you're doing to improve. Help you understand the business. Like with Kickstarter, for example, if you have a book with an AI cover that has a big old pair of tits on it, and you have a basic story in it, you're going to get seen. The algorithm loves that shit on Kickstarter. Kickstarter has a lot of sexy books that get pushed, and it's almost known for that on some level. But that doesn't mean that you should be getting all fucking butthurt.
And then it's the same thing for
creator,
the authors too. Like I talked to both indie comic book creators, as far as like the comic book side of it and the author point of it. And I feel this also, the other thing must factor in saturation. Just because you're doing this thing to create something does not mean that you're the only person doing it. It's what I used to explain to my old past Yu-Gi-Oh market watches. Just because you have an idea does not mean someone else can think of that idea. It all depends on how fast someone can execute on said idea. And keep in mind, just because you're doing something does not mean you're entitled to just getting a bunch of support for it. You have to build that stuff. Some people are lucky enough to just get all that up front, and that's just luck. That's how luck works. Or you're going to be, most of the time, you're going to be the person that's going to be having to earn that newest reader for your book, your novel, your comic. You have to earn that new sub for your YouTube channel. You have to earn these things. You're either going to be in one of two camps, and the other camp is like 0.0001%. So you're going to be our camp. You have to fight for every single person that you're going to get. I understand, like, it's literally, if you made a YouTube video and it went viral, you're in that 0.01%. Congratulations. But that's literally not going to be everyone, and you're gonna have the person that's gonna have to just grind all the way through it. Every day is gonna be a new challenge. One day you'll learn, hey, I should have did this better when this happened. I could have did this better. I could have did that. And speaking of Kickstarter, because you did bring that up, I always would say go through Kickstarter if you're doing a Indiegogo campaign, because fucking Indiegogo, the actual company, that platform is trash. Let's just say that.
If you're gonna do Indiegogo, bring an audience with you. Have at least 100 backers that are gonna back day one, and then that'll help you out on Indiegogo.
Yeah, because like looking at everyone that's did it, I'd rather you just even do Fund My Comic, for being honest here, over Indiegogo.
I mean, if
my card doesn't really have an audience, really, honestly.
Well, that's the thing, is out of those three, Fund My Comic, Indiegogo, and Kickstarter has the biggest natural comic book audience. That's what Kickstarter. Well, it's not only known for comics by no means, but that is Kickstarter's. It's a bigger section of its world, and you're going to have much more of an organic success there than you will at like Indiegogo or Fund My Comic. Now, I don't know how Fund My Comic's doing. I've heard some good things. I've heard some bad. It all depends on how big the audience has there. But if you're going to bring it, I would always suggest, and this was even with Kickstarter, try to bring in an audience. Try to build up your product with an audience and then bring it in there. If you're going to go cold into even Kickstarter, you're going to have a rough road ahead of you, because
also that's every business adventure. That's every endeavor you're going to do. If you're going to start off cold, you're starting at zero. Everyone starts at zero when we do this. You just literally just have yourself statistical zero. He had a tweet here that came out earlier this morning. Man, 808, man. I was waking up from getting blown from this girl or something like that. I threw her outside. It's been 5 years since I found CG. What drew me wasn't the cause or politics. It was the big group of fans that were excited about comic books. It seems much harder to find that passion for the books as most attention shifted to creator gossip. I just don't have time for that. Yeah, that's why a lot of people basically have either you're full CG now or you're just super apathetic to it. That's it. Or you hate it completely, Like, I did like the idea of it when I first kind of heard of it, because it sounded like a ghettoer version of indie comics back in the day. But the difference with Image comics versus with this with CG was that the people, despite those people that started Image Comics like Rob and Todd and Jim and all those guys, despite them being weird as they are, the reason why they got it done was because they did have a passion for wanting to actually do it, you know?
Yeah.
And of course, the Image Comics founders had drama. Like, it's how that happens when you have people that talented and that creative. But the reason why CG failed was because, well, people just didn't have the same level of passion and thought process on business that Image Comics did. And Image Comics at one point, there was, I forgot one of the guys, he was like, hey, we got to get our stuff out on time. And then they were like, oh, yeah, you're right. We probably should get stuff out on time. See, it just takes one person to do that. They were like, you know what? You're right. CG never really had that. They were just trying to basically just live off of other people's money. And I mean, it still is, I would say, I'll not say huge. It has its audience, but I don't think that audience is growing anytime soon. And it's only just going to be the people that are in CG are the people that it has, and that's it. There's no less or no more.
You do see a downward trend in Kickstarters, but that's across the board. So you can't say, well, CG Kickstarters aren't doing as well, or I'm sorry, Indiegogos aren't doing as well because no one's are doing as well. So we really can't look at it that way for audience size. And also, too, like you look at like the figurehead with EBS, he hasn't had a crowdfund for a book in a while because he's still behind on the one other book. So what's going to be interesting though is he has that new book that has the quote unquote manga style on the inside of it that he wrote, and it'll be interesting to see how well that book does. That might be an indicator of just how much of his audience is still willing to buy something with his name on it. But you know, when it comes to but yeah, it's the problem too with drama marketing is that it's hard to maintain. It causes everyone to turn on themselves because eventually you're talking about stuff to get reactions for clicks and drama.
Yeah.
And then when you run out of stuff outside to talk about, or your influence isn't big enough to get a response, you start turning inward and you start seeing the fractions. And there's been a lot of fracturing recently, but the big fraction was like the war campaign, they call themselves, went off to the side. And there's, you know, so when you're doing and living off of that drama, and then you start getting known for it, it's hard. Like,
especially when they're asking for $25 a book. Like this guy right here, you know, at least it's $5. You know, Marvel hates you, but at least they're only charging like $5.99.
and let's be honest too. Why do they do it? Because it works. Because they get people to watch. Because they get super chats. Because they get clicks. Because they get people buying their book. Because they're part of their movement. You know, I'm buying this book. I'm not even going to ever read it, but I'm going to buy it because I'm for the anti.
Also, if we're being honest here with some of that CG stuff, I mean, I bought Mike Barron's Bronze Star book. I have to rebuy it because I gave it to James for his birthday gift because I think he told me he liked Westerns at one point. I don't remember because he tells me a lot of stuff that I don't remember because he's just a white person. I'm the other true white guy. But a lot of that Comicsgate stuff, you know, despite me liking a lot of their work from when they were in the mainstream, I'll be honest, none of that stuff that they're making right now is interesting at all. And it comes out so much later than when it actually goes live. And I understand how it all works now. I've had enough people on to know how the process works with all that stuff. And it's just, I'm just not that interested in the stuff they're making. It just doesn't appeal to me. I don't think it's really that good, honestly. Like, there's a handful of indie books that I've read that are somewhat decent, but just the CG stuff in particular, it's just, that don't appeal to me at all.
I can't speak on it because I haven't read any of it because they're over on Indiegogo and I don't use Indiegogo. I use Kickstarter. So I haven't really. I mean, I got one book from Mike S. Miller, who was CG and he's no longer CG anymore. He's very anti-CG now. But I never got the book, and that had his Doug Tenables and Mike Barron's characters in it, with art by by Matthew Weldon. And I never got the book. That's like almost 4 years late. And so the books I do get are for people that I know, and I'm reading and actually liking the stories on them. I buy books based off of artists. I have over 100 campaigns that I've pledged to. I'm one of the big gifters or pledgers or whatever they call it. So it's
Did you
but
get
yeah,
most of the books? Because back and still right now, some of those CG books launched a while ago, still haven't been fulfilled. We went over the Rainbow the Brute
yeah.
campaign. This is crazy. That is still in demand. How is that still in demand? That book was supposed to finish in 2021.
Yeah,
That's
he's
crazy.
just recently said he's halfway done. So it's like 5 years to get halfway through it. And
Was
he's
it a
been
40-page
showing
book? Like a 42-page comic book? He's halfway done,
think
so he's
so.
done 20 pages. 20 pages in 4 years? Oh, get the fuck out of here. Oh my God. This man did more pages than that in the mainstream. And keep in mind, what also makes these books later is not just because it's not passion. I do believe, though I don't like some of these guys, they do have passion for what they're doing. When you have someone else pushing you to do something, it makes you potentially put out your best work. When there's nobody over your head kind of nudging you, then you get bad business habits and bad work habits that they have where you just don't get your stuff done on time. So Godful Universe, I've had Godful on. I like him. I've had Tyler on. I've not had Tyler on since I had him on the Iron Man podcast. So hopefully if he ever wants to come back on, I'll have him on. I had Lucid Comic on at one point for my Iron Man podcast. He unfollowed me. I don't know what I did to that guy.
Yeah.
I've
talked to Tyler a couple times. I like him. I followed his career from when I started Indie Comics. I've been following his stuff.
It's crazy. Randomly, some of the people that I've had on at least the Iron Man podcast a while ago, you look up their profile, see who still follows you. They've unfollowed. Like, the fuck did I do? And keep on, it's people that I barely interact with. There's a person here I won't say who randomly unfollowed me because maybe I said if you can't afford to Switch 2, it's probably because you're fucking broke. Not directly to this person at all. I just said it on a tweet.
Which he was sensitive to because he probably doesn't have the money to buy Switch 2.
Yeah, keep in mind, hey, Nintendo's a shit company sometimes, but that's not Nintendo's fault. You're broke. That just pointed it out there. If you're broke, you got your own personal problems you got to work through. If you can't afford new stuff,
your friend list is just dropped. Do.
All I said was, hey, maybe if you have problems with money, get a job. Crazy, absolutely mind-blowing take right there. If you have
people
money,
don't want to hear that shit. People don't want to hear that shit.
Oh, shit.
Come on, man, you're fucking my high up.
So apparently, Tyler was in a debate with these people.
Yeah.
I'll have to go watch that. I didn't go see that, but I guess Godfo summed it up here a little bit. He said, it seems what T/ was originally saying was that a truly great book would not get promoted on Kickstarter if it didn't meet certain criteria, boobs and legacy creators. Is that an argument, really?
No.
Is there any actual proof behind that? I mean, yes, if a person sees a cover with boobs, being honest here, they'll probably back it more than the ones that aren't showing boobs. But hey, at the end of the day, I might not agree with it all the time doing that, but you're trying to get your stuff funded here. Do you want your stuff funded, or do you want to take the other route, which is maybe not getting it funded? Also, yeah, that's not really good Lord, fuck. I know Godfield's not saying this. I know he's saying it for someone else. Yes, legacy names on a book would sell it more. That's well. If Jim Lee's name on if Jim Lee's name is on a book over someone else's, his book is getting bought more. That's just how it works.
And they're bringing in an audience, and they get free promotion. If Jim Lee's like, I'm going to do a creator-owned book for Kickstarter,
that show will probably make $300K.
Cool, and everyone's going to talk about it. And then he's going to bring in people on his, if he has like a Patreon or social media, he'll bring in like 1,000, 2,000 people probably in day one before the first hour's done. So, like this Slash guy, I've seen him on a few shows, and he gets really passionate about this.
Is he one of those guys that basically tries to sound more smarter than he is? That's what it usually comes down to.
Yeah, he's kind of pretentious, and he's one of those ones that's like, my book isn't doing good, so it's nothing wrong with me. It's everyone else's fault.
That's what I say for my League of Legends teams. It's not me that's the one that's sucking, it's everybody else. Hell yeah.
It's like with the boobs comment, it's like if you go to a food court and you're trying to sell sushi there and everyone wants burgers and pizza, then you're not going to do much business. So you got to know the market that you're going to. And I'm sorry that Kickstarter customer base likes boobs and don't go through and scholarly look at every project that goes through there, and so if it doesn't work out, I apologize, that sucks, but also
that's how
though,
an
it's
algorithm works.
reality.
The algorithm is essentially
Yeah.
a Wild Wild West level of a thing. Either it could get promoted or it could not.
They like
Also,
sexy chicks, superheroes, cyberpunk, and Cthulhu. If your book doesn't have all that stuff, you're going to have a hard time bring people in with you. And then hopefully, if you bring in 100 people, you make goal in the first hour, then they boost you up on the algorithm, you get seen more, and then your project brings more people in. Maybe you need to work on your thumbnail. Maybe you need to work on your pitch. I mean, just to say that you have to meet the criteria of a legacy owner or having big old boobies to make. No, there's stuff that you can do to fix and to get better results.
also,
And
keep in
also
mind,
too, you can only yield so much. Yeah.
I just added to your point. Yeah, if someone's a legacy creator, God forbid they have people that'll automatically support them. That's like, that should just go without saying. That's like when a person says, damn, fucking plants receive photosynthesis.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like the person that tries to say the most basic facts sounding smart. It's like, hey, you know that SpongeBob is? Did you know that Seth MacFarlane voices Brian Griffin? Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that. You're not saying anything too different.
When Todd McFarlane goes to put a Spawn toy on Kickstarter, he goes and advertises that to his 2 million followers. And then when the day one comes around, he sells like 30,000 of the little bastards. And it's like, well, yeah, because legacy people bring in audiences because they have name recognition. Like, no one's going to go to Kickstarter and type in Warren Brown because no one knows who the hell I am aside from your audience and a couple other people maybe around, the YouTube sphere. But that's it, though. So my book has to catch the eye. It has to facilitate to the market. It has to work in that area. And if I'm doing a crime noir in a market where cyberpunk, superheroes, boobs, and Cthulhu reign, then I know I'm going to have a harder time because now my audience selection has shrunk. That's another thing too. How much will your product gather attention-wise from the base of audience you're going for? So if your audience wants...
Also, you said, is there a market for that?
Yeah, if your audience wants A, B, C books, how many of those people will take the D book? Because this D book is like a crime noir. Well, maybe out of this 100% audience, only 30% like crime noir. Well, now you're only going to get out of that 30%, and only if that 30% see you. So, it starts breaking it down that way. You can't be mad at the platform. You can't be mad at the customer. You just have to find out what the customer wants.
Yeah, it's like the average person, in the same way I would do it for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Market watches back in the day. The average person is so dumb, people. They literally think of things as black and white. They don't think of like all the other intricacies that go into a problem. They think, oh, it's either works this way or it works that way. And if it doesn't work either way, then it's a horrible thing. And it's like, that's just not how that works. And if you truly think that way, I'd argue, think more. Whether this is a product of Kickstarter or simply based on what people buy, this concern is valid. People are more likely to purchase from legacy creators because they already know them and know their quality, understandable, and sex sells, understandable. If these are what most likely push by default, then yes, any book, great or not, that doesn't meet these standards will have less promotions. Yeah, I think essentially it's kind of like the people that have the arguments that we do about Marvel and DC and all these other companies. If you don't give the audience what they want, they're not buying it. So if that's what they want, you might want to reconsider your actual strategy then, just saying.
And you can't expect an audience. And that's the thing is good is kind of by the person's own judgment. It's up to the person. Like, someone might read my comic book and say, this is really good. And then someone else might read it and say, well, this is amateurish trash. Now, one person's reality, it's good. So to me, it's like, you can't expect this audience to be able to go through and be like, oh, well, this one has the best story structure integrity, and the lettering is correct, and this is the better overall well thought out product. No, it's because that not everyone is going to be that way. So I also think it's important, just because you don't sell well on Kickstarter doesn't mean it's like some indication that your product's bad. You don't have to get butthurt about it. It's just you haven't found your audience yet, and you keep pushing. And plus another big thing is people don't like to admit their own faults. So when it comes around to like, well, I'm doing nothing wrong. My Kickstarter's perfect. My book is smart, intelligent, and well written, and it's awesome. And if you don't like it, it's because you're a booby sucking heathen legacy chaser.
Damn incels.
Incels.
Tyler C's argument leans more on creating to cater to the algorithm, making something great, than marketing it per the status quo. But the question then becomes, when does marketing in such a way undercut the art? Must everything become a MC book? Okay. So
a McBuck, yeah, like a McDonald's type, yeah.
I don't, because the argument, because that's where things get tangled up. I think people start, I'm not saying Tyler's doing this in the argument, but I think that's when people start talking past each other. Why can't you just have both? You should have good art, you should be having good things regardless of the outcome of it. So like, if your campaign failed, but you knew you had good art and everyone said you had good art, you should just have that regardless. Yeah. So like, your art shouldn't be undercut at all. And if that's even a thought, you're already going to fail, if we're being completely honest here, Yeah, that's my opinion. I don't know why people keep saying these things like one has to get sacrificed over the other. No, that's not how
that's what Tyler
function.
And if you listen to Tyler on long forums or on his show, that's what he's talking about, is essentially making books that you want to make. Like, I like making sci-fi action comedies, right? So if I wanted to make a book that was going to be the best possible success for Kickstarter based purely on what the trends are, then I would make a sci-fi action comedy that just had a female main lead, and I would make sure to sexify it up some. But I can still do all the fun stories, complex characters. You can still do all that you want. You just have to kind of cater to it. Now, I haven't done that because I don't want to, but if your goal is to sell and succeed and be up there on Kickstarter, then yeah, you have to create for the market as well. Just because you create something, and even if it's great, doesn't mean the audience is going to care,
Their core disagreement is about objectivity versus subjectivity. Tony leans more towards objectivity and Tyler leans more subjectivity. Everything about their disagreement stems from this. I'm more inclined to agree with T/ on this point. That's Godful saying that he agrees with T/ more. The idea of objectivity in art is not things we agree on or things we like. It is that there exists some order outside of humanity that we have found and adhere to, because not because we like it, but because it is undeniable. But that itself, God, for Jesus Christ, that still boils down to a subjective thing.
No,
that itself right there is a subjective person thing. Like, if I say your art looks good, and if you say that objectively looks bad, well, what does it objectively make it look bad? Because keep in mind, most of us that buy the books, the average person wouldn't know good art if it actually walked up to them and slapped them in the face. Most average people can just have a decent eye for like the most decent thing, Like, I think that's more of an artist argument. Oh, well, my art's better because it's objectively stronger than this guy's art. It's like the average person doesn't give a fuck about that. Because there's books that sell that have the worst. Absolute Martian Manhunter has the worst art I've ever seen in a book, and that shit's the highest seller right now.
One thing he's talking about is like, essentially something that is good, really, really good, like Alan Moore's Watchmen, for example. Whether you like Watchmen or not, you shouldn't be able to say that it's a bad book. And that's essentially what he's saying, is like, it should be based on a system of undeniable. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm writing a crime noir book. My book is so good that I should be recognized for it. And it should be undeniable. But that's not how the market works. That's not how.
With that, because I've heard people say that kind of thing too. there's going to be people that don't even like the popular thing. Now, is it a majority? No.
Yeah.
But I understand what the argument is. Basically, if it is good, then it will kind of just basically be able to carry itself, right?
But yeah, then, it's like I don't like it, but I still know it's good. Like I didn't like this. I'm not a fan of this kind of story.
But how many indie creators really have that ability to create something like that too? It's like very few.
Even that's subjective. There's some people who don't like Dark Knight Returns, and I think.
Sorry. No, my bad. What I mean is like, how many people in the space have the ability to create something like Watchmen? Where like it's like very few, far between people can do that.
I agree.
Like I don't know, like because what he's saying essentially is, I get what he's saying. If I make something and it's good enough, it'll be able to stand on its own, right? But there's things in comic books, video games, and movies where things were actually pretty good, but they failed because of other outside factors, like that Ultimate Spider-Man game that everyone likes. Well, that game failed. Actually, it sold horribly, and they were going to do a sequel, but they canceled it because it didn't do well. Look, if you look at gameplay, people talk about it now. If you actually played it, I just looked at gameplay growing up about it and everything. It looked fine. Looks completely good. It looks like a fantastic Spider-Man game to play. Because what they're most fetching is quality will carry it. Well, what's quality to someone like you is not going to be what's quality to someone else. That is just like a buffet. It's just an all you can eat there. It's going to be up to the person to decide what is quality to them. Now, objectively, if you want to use that word, some stuff will just stand out. But then again, who gets to decide that? I guess the audience does.
Well, that's a good point too. It's the audience decides what is undeniable. If you want to just break it down that far, it's to say something that is just fact, that this is great, that this is good, and especially there could be there are good artists and writers in the indie sphere. There are good writers and artists in the mainstream sphere too. I don't, aside from maybe Scott Snyder, there's a couple names in the mainstream that I think could create timeless works. But indies, I haven't read them all, but that's also the problem, is you might have a Shakespeare who never gets seen. Mm-hmm. And part of their argument is that person should be seen because that quality should be pushed by the algorithm. That quality should rise to the top, that even if all you're on there for is cyber titties, you're still going to stop and read that book, because that is just that.
The other thing to factor into that too is like, people have to understand with comic books, the audience is not as big as people think it is. You're literally fighting. I mean, I believe the audience has a giant size overall, but it's not as giant as something like video games, for example. Comic books generally have a smaller audience than most other types of fandoms.
Well, and on top of that, which you're 100% correct, on top of that, Kickstarter has a smaller chunk of that audience. There's people who go into comic book shops that never heard of Kickstarter, never donated to Kickstarter. Like, if you're not in, Uncle Joe's comic book shop and emporium, then they don't know you exist. So it's like comic books are already a shrinking fan base. Indie comic books is even more, and then Kickstarter has a chunk of that base, a good chunk, but it's still a small chunk of the overall. So it's you might have a book that does terrible in Kickstarter. You go throw it over on Indiegogo, and something about it strikes an audience and it pops up. You might try all three of those, but then go to a convention and sell out, because people come by and see the cover and see it and just think, and you pitch it to them and they think it sounds great and awesome, and they buy it up, so it's, you got to keep that perspective when you're doing this, is that just because Kickstarter doesn't work or isn't good for your product doesn't mean that that's the end of the road, and that doesn't mean that you can't go elsewhere.
Also, good Lord, people don't even understand. Crowdfunding is like a niche in the niche itself.
Yeah.
Most comic book people that are buying comics or even collectors will never, ever, ever hear of this. You're literally in. It's essentially what, like, streaming, it's essentially what is streaming movies still. Like when Patty Jenkins said that streaming movies, she never hears about them. It feels like the Wild Wild West. That's like literally what crowdfunders are. That's like the Wild Wild. That's actually Wild Wild West. It's like, unless you know kind of thing.
Well, that's an excellent point. It is the Wild Wild West because in mainstream, there's a level line of quality that there is a Marvel look. There is a DC look. There's something that Image looks for. With indies, it's about whoever can get enough eyes and people worth to buy their book. So I might have a book that someone else looks at and says, I don't understand how this amateur garbage is selling. But because I have a good personality and I build up an audience, I might be doing a 5-figure campaign. Now, the guy who's next to me, who's been drawn 4 times as long, who's a lot better than I am, they're better writers than I am, and they're not doing as well, they're going to be pissed off. But that's the Wild West part of it. There is no level or standard or rules in Kickstarter. It's you make a book, you put it out there, and if enough people get to it, then that book is a success based on the goal that you listed. That's the bottom line. Now, we can go over the ranges of quality along those lines, but the bottom line is, in this Wild Wild West, it is product, audience, go achieve the goal. If you hit those spots, then you get to keep going, and you get to make success off of this. So that is real true. I think that's a problem that these guys have, is that they expect that there should be that line of quality. And Tyler's kind of like, no, this is, you get your eyes to the product, you find your audience, and you sell to them, and then you can have success. And all of this stuff talking about, like if Tyler's doing 10-figure campaigns and he's doing 8 of them a year, then, and he's
eventually you'll grow enough of a base for yourself that if you did throw out something random, it would probably fund. The goal is to basically kind of grow an audience to a point where even if you put out something that they're not expecting, you have a big enough base where it will cover it, but you have to get to that point, and people kind of want to do, it's like all fun, no pleasure, all fun, no play, the old saying back in the day. People want all the fun, but they don't want the actual like hard work of it too.
Yeah.
This is why things like the golden ratio is used so much. No one invented it, and no one committee decided on it based on their subjective view. It was recognized as existing and functioning and being beautiful. That humans recognize it does not mean they defined it. They merely reacted to it and then changed themselves for it. That's what a standard is. Color, theory, perspective all exist because of things that were found, not created. Well, to be fair, technically all the best things we ever have now were created by someone, but I guess that's a mindset of it. That's more of a spiritual, philosophical argument. We'll go through probably the rest of this tomorrow. We'll go over this last paragraph. We could get to the topic itself. But the last one right here is the question to the other side of this could be, why do we like it? Why does sex sell if everything is subjective? Okay, well that question's easy, because we're horny weirdos. The reason why sex sells is because dudes like having sex with girls. That's not even a hard thing to answer. If art appeals to the lions, can it also not appeal to the heart? I don't understand. Huh? How about the heavens? Are we just meat? If so, is art merely excrement? What else could it be? This is, and I like Godfall a lot, but this is where artists start losing people. This is what is called thinking too hard about something. You're thinking about it way too hard. You need to simplify things. Okay.
Yeah.
All of this stuff is going to literally be, all of that's interchangeable. Every single thing right there is interchangeable, except this. People just buy sex things because they're just horny weirdos. That's what it is. But all this right there, all that is interchangeable. All that is basically what came first, chicken or the egg kind of arguments, right? Like, if we're talking about appeal, subjective. It's not an objective thing. Like a person that, and this is not to say that objectivity and subjectivity can't cross with each other. It's to say that when you think that hard and philosophical about something, do you lose the sight of what's right in front of you? Because I think a lot of the creators, listen, any space that I've talked to, losing sight of what's in front of them. They're thinking about, man, if I started making a wheel and then I actually put it on something, then I can start making a product that could drive. Oh my God. It's like, no. It's not what you have.
Yeah.
You're drawing characters on a piece of paper. You're thinking way too hard about this. This is not what you think it is. You know? Good Lord.
Well, it's so the goal of this is to you create your books, and then you hopefully to get out there and you can sell them, and then or you get enough traction with them that and you get to an audience appeal that they take that's all you have to do is you can keep that momentum going and financially make it your people like it, people read it, and keep moving. You people do that with Kickstarter by trying to raise enough money on the Kickstarter to make the next book. So you can make the book you're currently doing and then make the next one. Guys like myself work day jobs, and I'm just going to make my book because I'm going to keep making them because I'm working on trying to make better books, and then also I'll work on trying to get them out there along those lines. What the problem is with what they're talking about is that if you look at original Ninja Turtles, the art wasn't the greatest in the world on that indie book, but those guys kept driving, they kept going, became a cartoon. Now it is a massively successful franchise. There was no one saying, well, you guys aren't as good as Jim Lee, so you need to stop doing this, or you guys shouldn't have success because your book isn't good. They're trying to equate, well, technically this is not the Mona Lisa, so you shouldn't be successful. And it's like, no, this is about product, person buying the product. And if it's creating the product, finding a reader, person to read the product. If you're like, well, I don't care about money, I just want someone to read my book. Well, you got to create a book that's worth reading. And if it's not doing what you want it to do, then you have to work on what the problem is with your product, or you need to move on to another story, try another genre, or along those lines. But to sit on top of a hill and say, I have the best of this product and it's not doing good as that what product that I deem beneath me, then that person should not, there's something wrong. That's a crime against
feel
humanity.
Like they deserve your success, and you
don't. Yeah, it's like I should be more successful than them because my product is better. Well, and that does not how the world works, because one, there is no real undeniable. There's also availability. There's also likability. There's also all sorts of other functions that determine a financial success. And if these guys are saying these books need to be doing better, well, then now you're talking about financial, and now you need to talk about, well, how do you get more eyes on it? Minecraft was a shit movie.
Has literally the worst graphics imaginable.
But
that doesn't matter to the average person or kid.
It was made for an audience, and that audience went apeshit over it.
Yeah, and that right there proves the average person's eye test is actually terrible. The graphics on that game is hideous. If the average person his eye test is that poor, like it's or use an author example, because everyone's gonna know this example. Twilight. People always will shit on the lady that wrote Twilight, but then again, people say, "Oh, it appeals to horny teenagers, or whatever." I'll be honest here. There's a big audience for that. She definitely hit it big with it.
Well, that's the thing is Minecraft was made for an audience. That audience loved it, and they gave them lots of money. That is a success. I don't care if it doesn't have a story that's as good as Schindler's List. I don't care that it has, but if we're judging this based off of commercial success, Minecraft is one of the most successful movies this year. I don't care that it has a shit story, and I don't care that the graphics are bad. It made a product, and they trying to hit an audience, and they achieved that goal. And people went and watched it by the droves, a huge age demographic. The young kids absolutely loved it. They didn't care how corny the jokes were. And So yeah, it's a success. I don't care. So when these guys are talking about this stuff, it's like, yeah, not everything's going to be Schindler's List, and not everything successful is
Yeah, it's
going
like
to
when
be.
people go to the movies, or like let's use comic book fans, oh yeah, if people will go to a movie and it's like the average person thinks they're gonna see Jaws. No, you're about to see like fucking the most popcorn movie. It's more likely you see a popcorn movie that's just of that
Yeah.
nature than you're gonna watch like an Academy Award winning movie. And keep in mind, the people that watch the popcorn movies might actually think that's better than the Academy Award winning movie. That's just what it is. It's just how the human mind works. Like we don't. The reason why we're all different is because we all think differently about how we perceive this stuff. That's what makes the conversations interesting. You know,
and it's the goal of the consumer. If the consumer is like, I want to go to the movie theater, get some popcorn, and sit down, laugh, and have fun, or I want to be thrilled with action. It doesn't matter if it's if you go in and watch the Thunderbolts and you had a great time period, which audience scores are real high, critic scores are real high. If those people enjoyed it, that film was a success. We can get into how bad the story was, Fast and the Furious, along those lines, but at the end of the day, those people supposedly liked it. Now, overall budget, we know all that stuff plays into it with the movies, and that probably wasn't the best example. The Minecraft example is much better, but there's no causality between quality and popularity. And it's also, if I go to a movie or a stadium to watch a UFC fight and someone comes out in the ring and starts quoting Shakespeare, well, people are going to start throwing beer bottles at him and booing. They're going to want to fight. Yeah, now that may be more intelligent, more artful, better than watching two guys beat the hell out of each other, or gals, let's be fair. Then it's it's because that's what the customer wants, and that's what the goal was. So yeah, a lot of this stuff I think is just bitterness because their passion projects aren't getting seen, and then
also,
they
I think
look
they're
around at
thinking about it
stuff.
way too hard. They're thinking like they're putting thought into it, which is fine. These are things that need to be talked about. I think they're fun. These are fun subjects to talk about, but they're placing way too much emphasis on things that they feel like should be the reality versus what the reality actually is. It's like, I want the Lakers to do good. I would want the Lakers to win a trophy. Now, is that the reality of where we're in? People need to think about what's the present nature of the moment you have versus what you think it actually should be. And if you think it should be a certain way, well, I would just say you can. That's what we call hope. Yeah, you hope it would be that way, but that's not what it is. I know a lot of these guys will use the argument of like, well, if art isn't subjective, then why would you think it could be improved? Keep in mind, as we just explained, the average person wouldn't know good art if it hit them straight in the face. You could literally show them Jim Lee and Jorge Jimenez's art side by side and tell them the names and ask them to pick out which is which, and they wouldn't know.
Yeah.
That's just how it works. I don't know how people don't see that, you know? Also, keep in mind, some people just want to just turn their brains off and just get stuff because it just makes them feel good. Like, why do people think that the consoles are still as bad as they are? People just want a machine that you turn on, sit down, play. They don't want the other intricacies of building a rig. They don't want that. They just want it simple, you know? And sometimes simplicity, what's that saying? Simplicity is at its finest or whatever it's called. I think it's the saying. Yeah.
Well, some of the most beautifully drawn comic books in
like manga is not
history.
in any shape or form art-wise is as good as Western comics. Western comics will always have, in my opinion, better overall art than manga. It's more detailed, it's more dynamic. You see more of the facial expressions. You see like the real raw grittiness of it. I'm not saying manga's art is bad, but I would prefer the Western comics art style. Now, someone might go manga's art stronger, but you know how that works, people? That's called being subjective.
Well, yeah, like and I'm more of a manga fan myself, because I feel that manga artists are better. I don't think they're better than the '90s and early 2000s Western comic artists, but I think manga artists are better now than your average like Marvel artist.
Go back and read fucking Naruto Volume 1. See the art style, then compare it to like Naruto Volume 43. You'll see a massive difference there. Saying Western comic artists just have more talent.
Well, like read Berserk and tell me that it's not very, that manga art isn't detailed. Like
Yeah.
Berserk is some beautiful stuff. I mean, I can
Mhm.
name off some other manga, but
I think One
the
Piece
point
does it
though,
bad. Like Oda does way too much detail now in his mangas.
well,
A little
your
overboard on
art
that.
style changes as you go along. It happens to
Mhm.
all of them. My Hero Academia,
Mhm.
even Berserk. If you look at Berserk in the later volumes to the early
Yeah,
volumes,
Dragon Ball
and
for sure. Dragon Ball started
oh
off
yeah, well
way different than where it ended up at.
you start off with your style, and then when you're trying to do a schedule, your style streamlines and you start drawing the characters so much. Even if you look at my first issue to the fourth issue I'm drawing now, it's a night and day difference. You can still tell it's me, but it's a night and day difference, and even my characters are starting to look a little different. And it's just because your style starts streamlining, and you get so used to drawing them, you can almost draw them unconsciously. So, but yeah, it's you can't take away of the opinion side of art, because there's always going to be that factor there that if I create a piece of art and 1,000 people like it, well, to 1,000 people, that's good art. Now we can go through the technicals and say, well, this is not good, your perspective's off, or blah blah
Mhm.
blah. But it doesn't matter if enough people like it. Then to them, they're good. You got the emotional response that you wanted. And for those fans, like if I do a drawing, only
But
5
this
people like
other
it.
manga that that I'm gonna be reading the manga very soon because the new volume came out. Kagurabachi looks actually very good for
Oh,
manga art.
one does. That one is really well. Sakamoto Days is really good too. If you like action art, like
A new Vinland Saga hardcover came out. Did you ever think Vinland Saga was any good?
I love Vinland Saga. That
Okay.
one has some of the most beautiful artwork and most beautiful backgrounds in manga. Um, I found out like he has like 4 people doing backgrounds for him. Like they're like
Insane.
drawing individual leaves in some scenes, and it is just a beaut. If you get a chance to read through it, it's absolutely beautiful story. I think there's like 14 volumes out right
James
now.
said, writing a story that you're passionate about and then not getting eyes on it tends to make a lot of people bitter. Hard to admit that you've
100%.
wasted hundreds of hours on it. Hey, this is why I will always say doing a comic book is always harder than doing a novel. And someone was really going back and forth, and I'm like, dude, at the end of the day, the reason why a novel is easier to do in theory is because it's just you writing what you want to do in your chapters. Comic book art is not only harder to do to put in a book because there's many different factors to why a comic book will pop off versus a novel. Like literally, the fact that you have to have a comic book artist match the style of what the writing is, have it actually be good. Because you mind, no one knows what the writing is. No one knows what the writing is. So they're looking at the art itself. The art has to capture someone. If anyone says a novel is harder to do than a comic book, I know you're a retard. That's just not objectively. That's actually objectively not true overall. Like a novel is way easier to do. That's not even close. Like what? For a comic book, you have to have an artist, you have to do interiors, you have to do lettering, actual action sequences. You have to know how to panel things out. You have to know how speech and how word balloons all match up with characters. Dynamic double page spreads. Ain't no novel have no double page spreads. That's double page spread of word. If anyone thinks writing a novel is harder than comic book, you're an actual retard. I think you need to go back and fix your brain. Like what? How that even is an argument is what the fuck is wrong with you? Goodness gracious. It is objectively true. No, people get bitter because they feel like that they should be the one that has all that success. Like, hey, I understand it if you when we put in, even if you're doing like content creation, if you put in hours and hours and hours of effort and you see another person doing way better than you, doing maybe more if not less, people get jealous. It's just a natural human emotion, but people just take their jealousy to another level.
Oh, it happens to me. I had to come to peace with my own, because I got upset about the whole how easy or how well drama marketing works, and I would really bother me to the point. Yeah, it's I had to come to peace with it. It's just like that's a really, you go out there and you yell fire, you're going to get more attention than if you go out there and just say something nice. So I had to come to peace with that myself, and it's very easy to get bitter because you're putting in thousands of hours of work. I draw, I write, I letter, I do everything for my book but edit, because I send it off to editors. But everything else is done by me. My entire business is run by me. I put in thousands of hours of work to try to do this. So yeah, when people don't look, or you don't hear anything back, or people don't want to read it, it fucking hurts, and it makes you bitter. You got to be careful. And I've had to talk myself off of a couple ledges because I was just to the point where I was getting bitter and angry, and I had to step back. I had to look at my own things I needed to work on, and I had to appreciate other people's work and stop judging myself off of their success. Like, just because I'm not where they're at doesn't mean that I'm bad, or doesn't mean anything wrong. It just means that I've got to either change some things, improve some things, or just keep working, and I'll eventually get there myself.
Goodness gracious. Don't scroll through Twitter looking through porn. I'm not agreeing with you. I actually have never heard a single person said a comic was harder to write than a novel. Oh, you'd be surprised. You don't talk to enough people in the space. Just, oh, goodness gracious. Using a manga like Naruto to represent all of manga is... I'm just saying, I think Western comic art looks better. I could... Damn, I think... Let's see.
Which what you like. Yeah. It's what you like.
I'm just saying, if from everything I've seen from manga and Western comics, I think Western comics art is just way, way better. I don't think it's really actually close, but manga has been able to actually capture Western comics' feel with not even having color. Because come on, manga is just black and white. I find that really crazy that it can capture that many people just not having color to it. So it just goes to show you the average person doesn't even care if there's color in their art.
Yeah.
It just has to look decent.
I think that manga writing is 10 times better than Western comic writing right now.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I art wise, I think that's kind of like, I love the dynamic stylized manga art. I absolutely love it. Yeah. But I still love Western comic art because I have a lot of Western comic art I'm a fan of. But I really love manga comic art stylized the way it is. But when it comes to cohesive story and just writing better overall stories, I think manga is definitely the top right now for that. But that's also can be an opinion thing too. Some people can say no, manga stuff is terrible, and I love Western. Well, that's fine. That's all opinion based. There's no, just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean that I'm right and you're wrong. It doesn't mean that you're wrong and I'm right. It's just it's opinions.
Yeah. And my opinion's always the correct one because I'm hot, rich, and good looking.
So you are the top G Riz master.
Yeah, dang, but you're topper G Rizzer, man. This man blew my mind when he put that in there. Compared, I'll just put this: Jim Lee to fucking hell, Hirokoshi. I don't think there's that much of a difference there. If you say Hirokoshi's art is better than Jim Lee's, I'm gonna be like, okay, you might be smoking crack.
I think the artist Berserk is better than Jim Lee.
Probably, yeah.
Oh,
I think most manga artists are actually better than Rob Liefeld. They're not hard there to be.
Well, that's not hard to say,
All right, so let's get into this. Hey everyone, I am MSK, aka Master. I'm black. And I'm gonna die. I'm joking. I'm literally joking. I'm joking. Strike one.
Hey, look at that. Look at that. No shit.
All right. Jokes all aside. Hey everyone, I am MSK, aka Master Swag King, coming at you guys today with another video. And if you guys are returning viewers or new viewers, then please consider subscribing to the channel if you have not already. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it and comment down below. Also, make sure you guys hit the notification bell. That way you guys can get notified on whenever I upload a brand new video. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about, so what does a Marvel and DC comic book artist get paid when they start out? So wait a minute, hold on, wait a minute, I have to reload some buttholes.
No, fuck, no,
fucking hell, what happened? There's black, Thought I saw a black person outside. I got fear for my life. Damn blacks. All right. Third time's the charm. We're going to do it.
Steer 2.
Damn it. We're going to do it. I promise, guys. I'm not going to let you down. Hey, everyone. I am MSK, a.k.a. Master Swag King, coming at you guys today with another video. And if you guys are returning viewers or new viewers, then please consider subscribing to the channel if you have not already. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it and comment down below. Also, make sure you guys hit the notification bell. That way you guys can get notified on whenever I upload a brand new video. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about, so what does a Marvel and DC comic book artist get paid when they start out? So just for what we're going to cover in this video, this is not actually talk about with this article I'm going to bring up for us to go over for the video. This does not cover writers. I don't know what a writer makes for the big two. I would imagine it's not that much money because you're only getting comic books that are what, 24 to what, on average 32 pages, right?
Yeah,
So
it's one of those lines.
you're going to have to be essentially writing on a ton of books to actually potentially make a living in comic books. And that's kind of the joke there. It's that, you know, making a living in comic books is not really what you guys think it is. Like back in the day, when I didn't know much about comic books, I would like look up history videos. And I think the very first one I really did was I watched like a Comics Explained YouTube channel. And I watched like the Dark Knight Returns video he had, like Dark Knight Returns fully explained, all the things you missed, you know? And I was like, man, this guy Frank Miller wrote a great story here. He's probably fucking filthy rich. Turns out that's not how that works. That's literally not how it works. Famous people in comic books are debatably, arguably not actually well off at all, you know.
No, there's some mainstream artists right now on Marvel who have day jobs. So, you know.
Yeah. You know, I was actually surprised someone like Peter David, who was a co-creator for Spider-Man 2099, wrote a lot of good stories that a lot of comic book fans would be very huge fans of. Can't even get Medi-Cal right now, struggling to pay his bills. Like, what the fuck? And these are writers and artists have the same problems, right? So recently, we'll probably cover this in another video at some point. There was this artist named Dustin Gwen who basically gave the middle finger to Marvel because, well, they treat people like straight shit, honestly. They don't value their creators. They don't value anyone except for basically the idea is you should feel honored. You work for us. You want to get paid for your work. Yeah, you know, you get paid for it. But anything after that, we basically own it. You know, you just felt privileged and honored. You gave us your idea. You know, you can get the social media clout for it, but we can make the money. And it's like, I think I'd rather have the money, honestly, you know?
Yeah.
So people were asking, what does an actual comic book artist make from the big two? Now, keep in mind, we still don't know what the writers actually make, but we've already kind of, you know, been spitballing ideas and numbers around for quite some time. And based off the numbers that I've seen from this, it would make sense why more people would want to do their own thing, because in theory, you can do your own thing and make it work. You would get more of the money, obviously, right? So Bleeding Cool had this article come up about, you know, some weeks ago, and around this time period, basically Warren went on vacation. I went on vacation, and then I was like, you know what? Let's just cover this when we get back. And as you guys know, on my vacation, I was having sex with a lot of women, obviously, because you know I'm not a fucking loser and a nerd, but you guys are probably not going to believe that. So let's go over this. So what does a big two comics artist get paid when they start out? And how close is it to the US minimum wage? Because we know Marvel Comics actually pays people under minimum wage. Yeah, you know what's crazy? That's the same shit that the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers actors got mad at Chaim Saban. That's the same reason. Hey, basically, we could work at like a fast food restaurant and make more money doing that than being in Power Rangers, which is objectively at the time made like millions and millions of dollars. It wasn't at like billions yet.
It was like the number one kids show in America for a while. So it's like,
and eventually you could go work at Subway or Pizza Hut and make more money. It's like, what the fuck? It's like you're getting all the fame, but you're not getting the money that comes with the fame. It's like, holy shit. So, article summary. Big two pencilers start at about $160 per page, totaling $38,400 annually without benefits. Selling original art can add 15 to 20K, enhancing overall income significantly. Convention work, commissions, and covers offer additional income pathways. Creator-owned comics provide future prospects. Digital adaptation varies income. So I would imagine that's more like an Image Comics thing. Like, you don't really have creator-owned stuff here for the big two. Like, I don't know what that even means.
Well, what they're talking about is like, if I go work on Spider-Man, then I get recognition for drawing Spider-Man, and then I sell original art of Spider-Man, and then I build up a fan base. Then it's like, when people recognize my name, I go do a creator-owned, and that audience that I curated while working at Marvel is well, I'll bring over.
What you're saying, it's basically like you're doing this big character that's going to help you get better opportunities in the future, essentially.
Yeah, more people will know who I am if I draw Batman.
Yeah. And then this is the other thing to go over. So let's just say this 38K mark right there. Guys, do you know how much you're in the poverty level at that? That is literally poverty level, or slightly above it. So poverty level, I think, in the United States, in most states in general, is 30K. All right. So if you're at 38K, that is like barely above poverty level or slightly below it, to a point where you're not even really middle class.
You're not living on the West Coast, that's for sure.
Yeah, you're not living here. I mean, you might be able to live in my city in California off that. Barely. You'd be scraping the bottom of the barrel for that. But you're not living in New York making 38K. You would need like several roommates if you're making that.
Yeah. And this is if you consistently stay on a project all year.
Yeah,
so,
unless you're doing like, because I don't know if it's broken down in this, but I would assume you would need to do more than one book to even fully max out on that amount of money, and you get no benefits. You don't get dental, you get nothing.
If you're at Marvel, you're hoping to be on it for like 10, 15, 20 book run,
Marvel 10 issue. Marvel,
yeah, but that's another problem.
That's a joke in of itself.
Marvel doesn't get past 15 issues without rebooting, so you're gonna be.
Once you said Marvel at 20 issues, I was like, the dream's dead. Marvel 20 issues. Oh, yeah. Well, what's that thing in that movie with James Franco? First time. Fuck Marvel at 20 issues. Holy fucking shit. That's a good year.
$160 a page. You can make more than that working for some indie people. Like, that's for Marvel. That starting out, that's just terrible. That's
also
ridiculous.
It doesn't even say. Also, it doesn't say basically like how much they get paid, because from what I understand, fast food places pay like every 2 weeks. So like Starbucks, McDonald's, Subway, all that stuff pay every 2 weeks. Supermarkets, from what I know, people get paid every week. So they don't even. Hopefully, it's discussed here. How many times are you getting paid? Because if you're getting paid once a month for what we're doing here, for what we're talking about here, you surely can't live off that.
Yeah.
That is not even consistent.
I don't know how Marvel does it, if it's done by page turn in, or if it's done with Marvel. It's like you sign a contract and then we give you the money and then you fulfill the contract. Or I'm not sure how they do it.
Too. People have forgotten.
I know if someone commissions me, you pay as I turn a page in. So if you're paying me $80 a page.
So I did it right here.
Yeah.
So how much they say? 160 a page. So this on average, you're on a 24-page book. So 24 times 160, they said.
Yeah.
And let's say you're on that book, like you said, for the whole month. I'm assuming you're getting paid bi-weekly. So divide that by 2. That's what you get. What the fuck? I didn't put that there. What the hell? I hate calculators. So what was it? 160 times 24. Okay. So then this divided by 2. So you'd be getting $1,920. And after taxes, I don't know where you guys live. New York, they said. Fucking hell. I'm just going to go on a round number and say that's slashed to about $1,100. We'll say $1,200 exactly. So you get $1,200 after all that. Because you don't get paid all that money. That's what's disingenuous about this. You don't get paid all of that. All that's taxed in all your paychecks.
Yeah, that's gross. That's before taxes and everything. So,
oof.
Yeah.
And this is for
And
people that
no
are drawing
benefits. The
Batman.
reason why it says without benefits is because that's like 30 or 40 grand by itself, having medical benefits. That's you're if you get sick, well, good effing luck, drawer of Spider-Man. Like
You're like sneezing. I'm drinking NyQuil.
Yeah.
I'm drawing Spider-Man, buddy. I'm making it this month. Oh, damn, fuck. Buddy's got it rough out there. There's been a lot of fuss of late. I think it's time to throw down some figures. What exactly does a big two Marvel or DC Comics artist get paid when they start out on their career with the company? What other opportunities are there? And is it really minimum wage labor, as some say? Bleeding Cool crunched the numbers. Oh, let's hope Rich Johnson did a good job. I have been reliably informed that big two penciler starting rates are around $160 a page. Maybe a little bump for the Bat books or Spider/X books, because those are the best titles. Everyone wants to be on those books. But that's where we are. And artists are expected to do a page a day, say over 8 hours, or 20 pages a month. So EVS is not doing that. Well, that's an inside joke, guys. There's no holiday pay or sickness pay in this gig, let alone healthcare. So bear that in mind. So that's $3,200 a month a year. That's $38,400. Say yearly. Keep in mind, it's not factoring in taxes there. You are not getting that. Okay.
Yeah.
In New York, the minimum wage is $17 an hour. 40 hours per week, that's $35,360 a year. But you might get holiday pay. And there's no might there. You're not getting jack shit from these people. Just throw that out there. That's disregarded. Sick pay and health insurance as part of that, maybe. No, there was no maybe. You're not getting shit. There was never a discussion you were getting that.
You have to remember, too, that's said at 40 hours a week at $17 an hour. But you're going to be working 8 hours a day on a page for 20, if it's 24 pages, then you're going to be doing a page a day for 24 days in a row to get it done, 8 hours a day if you did it that way. So you're talking about working way more than 40 hours a week. You're working 7 days a week to get this done so that Marvel can have it. That's for a 24-page book. If they're doing a 32, 36, or 44-page book, because it's something special,
and the monthly thing can apply to that, because as you guys know, these books come out either bi-weekly or monthly. So you yourself, if you want to be ahead of the curve on a 24-page book, you would have to turn in essentially 9 to 10 pages a week to get it mostly done. So the final week of the month, you need to turn in 4 pages. Damn, all that's work in comics. Holy, you must be doing this for the fucking passion, because no one's doing this for money.
And what was it? It was $3,200 a month, and then if you divide that, let's see. Well, first here,
because they never specified how many times you get paid. I was just assuming you get paid bi-weekly.
8 hours times, let's say 24 days. Oh, hold on, 8 hours times 24 days. It's 192 hours. If we go 3,200 divided by 192, you're essentially getting paid $16 an hour for doing 192 hours of work. Yeah, in the month. In that month, you're going to get paid $16 an hour. That's with no benefits, and that's before taxes. So after taxes, that's going to drop down to $15 to $14 an hour of actually what you get into your pocket. And then you have to live in a time period where 30,000 is poverty, and you need at least like 50,000 in some cities. Like in Portland, to live in downtown Portland, you need 200,000. So it's like so
you're basically telling me I got to apply for food stamps while basically drawing Spider-Man and Batman. And keep in mind, guys, he specifically stated in here that you only get more money if you're on the big guys. So that would be Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, X-Men, probably Justice League, and stuff like Avengers. So anything that's not considerably big, like you can ask 10 people do you know who this is? That means the rates are lower for characters that no one gives a fuck about.
Yeah, the
Actually
artist doing the
works.
Psylocke spin-off series.
If you're
is
doing
getting-
Psylocke, you better apply for
you're
food
getting
stamps.
bottom. Yeah. Well, and here's another thing. Like in Marvel says there, you can sell the pages at commissions and do commissions and also do stuff off of the. Essentially, what
That's the
Marvel's
thing,
saying
though.
is
Shouldn't
we're
we be
giving
doing
you clout.
commissions? Yeah, essentially, because earlier it's said you can sell your work for commissions. Like, no fucking shit. But
Yeah.
it should be, if I'm working for Marvel, I shouldn't even have to do that. Why do I have to? I mean, if you want to do side work to make more money, that should be because you genuinely want to do that. If you work for this company, there should be a level of money you're making here where you don't even have to have that as an option. You know?
What's funny is Marvel's essentially like the world's biggest clout. But is this? They're just like, dude, you're getting so much clout from
You're getting
us
paid an exposure, man.
that
You
I'm
should
going to
feel
pay
honored.
you. Yeah, you're getting exposure bucks, so you should use those exposure bucks and leave me alone. The guy in Brazil loves 160 a page. So
for sure,
shut
yeah.
up. You know, it's like
But you don't have to live in New York with New York expenses or Burbank either. You can work wherever you wish. Yes, Rich. No shit, buddy. And Big Two can and do hire from wherever around the world they wish. An American living and working in the USA may be preferable for most jobs, as they are more likely to have a common cultural and social language with the editors and other figures of Marvel or DC Comics. However, the more recent increase in artists from other country who aren't paid any less, but where dollars may stretch further, show thus is far from an insurmountable problem. Yeah, so it's no secret these guys just don't hire in America. They hire from Brazil or Philippines. And I keep saying, I'm not saying there's bad artists in Brazil or Philippines. They have some tremendous artists out there. I will never say that they shouldn't hire people that are in those countries. That would be stupid. And it makes financially business sense to have your dollar be stretched as far as it can. That makes perfect sense from an actual business perspective. But keep in mind here, they're only doing that so they don't have to pay the better artists here. It's not because they truly think they'll find better out there. They don't want to pay the best artists here for that.
Yeah, it has nothing
it's more
to do
cynical
with,
than anything.
It has nothing to do with quality, because there are some amazing Brazilian, Filipino, Chinese, Japanese artists, amazing. But in the Philippines, you pay them $160 American. That's like you paying me $500 American a month or $1,000. So
they can live in a mansion in their country with that kind of money.
Financial math. That's the reason why jobs get shipped overseas. That's why iPhones are made with slave labor in China, is because they can pay them less and they can
get more volume out of it. Yeah,
make more money. That's what Marvel's doing. They pay these guys $160. They love it, and they get all this good quality artwork out of them. And that's why now it's like, if you look at some Marvel titles, it's like I can pronounce the name of the writer, but I can't quite pronounce the name of the artist anymore.
Yeah,
because they're going to foreign countries to get their artists.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing is, if they literally just paid the artists that we have good here more money, you get all those big names back for you. And if you just, I don't know, treat them good and actually give them money, you get them. But from a business point of view, it's crazy how Marvel Comics is a penny pincher. That's crazy. Think about. Also, as a penciler, you can also sell your original work. For someone starting out, that might be an average of around $100 a page, depending on the characters and the action sequences. Now, if your art boards are inked, you will usually get 2/3 of them back. Some pencilers send in scanned pencils for inkers to ink. And so to keep all their pencil boards, the demand and price for them is less, but the penciler gets to keep all of them. The same is true for the inked boards done on scanned in and printed pencils. The inker keeps them all, but the demand is less. That inker, by the way, starting out $100 a page, but you are expected to work faster than a penciler and could earn more. Can you explain what the hell that meant in artist terms?
Inkers are paid starting out at $100 a page, and they're expected to work faster because you're working over my art. So then my art's already established. I have to construct a page and make that page work and then draw everything.
Okay, so your job is essentially have to be a fast fill-in guy. to color it all in. Okay.
But most artists ink their own shit. So I don't know if that's still big at Marvel, but I know indie wise, like I ink my own stuff. Most artists do their own inking just because they might get paid $260 on that project, same project, because they're doing penciling and inks. So now they're making $260 per. But when you get to the bigger guys, like back in the 90s, there was inkers for everybody. No one really inked. They did their own pencils, and then very few guys did their own inking. But you're starting to see that switch now because you become a 2-in-1 then. But then also too, that adds more time onto your project. So now each 8-hour page might turn into a 12-hour page. And if that's true, then that means it's going to take you longer to finish a 24-page book. And that means you're going to be working more hours on it. So now so now it's like, okay, well, now I'm taking 30 days to pencil and ink 24 pages. Yeah, so yeah, it's still not good. Even with the added extra 100 on there, you lose it to just hours worked.
Either way, a starting out Big 2 penciler should add another 15 to 20K onto their salary by selling their original work generated and returned in that year. This is where he's never going to tell you this, because this is what I even know myself. You sell your original artwork to them, they put it on like t-shirts and all that stuff. They'll pay you for it. They'll pay you up front for it, but you get no additional, let's say, royalties, because I know they're not called royalties in the industry. They have to call it something different.
Yeah.
So they don't have to pay you royalties. So the guy that created that iconic X-Men logo, you guys all know and love with the whole yellow border too, that guy created that, and Marvel bought it for $250. You would think that guy's a fucking millionaire for them. They use that logo and everything. He's not. They want to basically take your original work, put it on t-shirts, lunch pails, backpacks, put on their website without giving you royalties for it. Because Marvel doesn't do royalties the same way DC does. The reason why people like working at DC more is you can potentially hit it big with royalties based off your creator-owned thing, your creator-owned characters you made up, and your collected editions. Even if Marvel gives you collected editions, you don't make anything. The only person that probably makes good money off collected editions is Rob Liefeld, based off his own personal deal with them that they hate at this point now, and probably Chris Claremont, maybe, and Jonathan Hickman. I'll throw him in there. He probably gets paid a decent amount of money for his collected editions, but they want to take your original artwork and then not pay you royalties for it, even though you probably made them billions of dollars in money. You can get, come on. I gave you $300 for it. Oh, fuck off. Actually, go fuck yourselves. Shit. If they so wish, putting you more on about $55,000. Of course, you may also be selling away your future. Those art boards have a tendency to accumulate in value over the years, like I just said.
Yeah.
If you are working digitally, however, you don't have that option, but you can work faster and maybe find it easier to be a penciler / inker as well. However, the original art market is also why the majority of Big 2 artists are still creating original art rather than switching to digital.
Yeah, because Marvel's not paying them. Because if Marvel was paying them more, they would switch to digital. Because that's the thing.
Yeah.
Is if Marvel's paying you $38,000, and then they're letting you sell your penciled art boards, your 11 by 17 pencils. Well, how much money does it cost you to sell them? Because you have to ship them, you have to do table fees, you have to do advertisement, you have to create a store to sell them on. So then you get that chunk out of it. You got to pay taxes on it, take that chunk out of it. And it's just like, yeah, thanks, Marvel, for allowing me to sell my own work, so I can barely break above the poverty line. Yeah, thanks a lot, asshole.
Thanks a lot, you fucking bastards. Damn. That's why, what's that saying? It's not show friends, it's show business, something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord. You can then add to all of this, including convention commissions. Rich, please stop it. I want you guys to really factor this in. If they paid their artists a decent amount of money, which is, as we know now, just the artists, not writers. If they pay them above minimum wage, Do you think all the artists would be making commissions on the side? No. I fully believe if you truly paid them a livable wage, that's not what they're paying right now. These artists would definitely not be going to conventions. These people literally don't even like you. As being honest here, commissions, covers, prints, and the like, which should be worth further tens of thousands if you can find the time and maybe an agent. Yeah, and pay the agent too. Being a big two artist might also increase demand for your work. That's the clout thing, even if it reduces the time you have to do it. And while as the decades pass, you should get more than a starting Marvel artist does, there's no guarantee. Also, there's no company pension. Yeah, which means no retirement, no 401k. So you could essentially make Marvel like billions of dollars off your character. Essentially could, hypothetically in theory. But you get no pay for that. Which is also why you might want to take advantage of the fans you have gained for your Marvel and DC work and see if you can pull them over to your creator-owned comic book. Even he's suggesting doing your own indie work to make sure you have all the money to yourself, which if it gets made into a film or TV show, might actually get you a pension, which is like given how the markets work now, that's not a thing anymore. I mean, Mark Miller hit it big when they chose him and Robert Kirkman, and I think the person that made the I wonder what did Amazon pay the guy that made The Boys, that comic book. But
that was Grant. Was that Grant Morrison that wrote that one? I think it's Grant Morrison. Well, that's the thing, though. What's sad is this article's right. Like, yes, these are all ways you can use your Marvel job to make money. But the problem, what I see, though, is that if you work at Marvel, then you really shouldn't have to be doing all this other bullshit. Like, you're working, like if I'm a professional wrestler and I make it to the WWE, I shouldn't be on food stamps anymore. If I'm fighting in the UFC on a televised pay-per-view event, then I shouldn't be struggling to survive. It's like, but that's what happens when you're independent contractors, though. It's like you don't work for Marvel. They contract you to do a book, but you're not going to be a Marvel employee.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Christmas card,
Yeah, that's the other thing that people don't understand when it comes to contractor work versus actual employee work. When you're an employee, you have to give them. I mean, you don't have to, but most jobs do pay benefits. If you're a contractor, that's kind of like, we don't really have to give you anything but the money that we said we're going to give you. Yeah. As a comic book creator, you are in charge of your career more than anyone else. If this is what you choose to do, fine. But there are so many other options out there that you can be a successful comic book creator without going anywhere near the big two. However, for smaller comic book publishers working in the direct market, work for hire can pay around a third of the Marvel/DC rate. It may take an agent and a middle grade or young adult graphic novel series to make money these days, or you may get lucky with a webtoon. But this kind of thing is more accessible than it ever has been. And you have a greater ability to explode your work to more people than ever before. But of course, so has everyone else. Okay, so I mean, yeah, I agree with mostly all of this, but like the idea is, why is that even a thing if you're fucking working for Marvel and DC?
Yeah.
And I fully get it from a business point of view. Not every character is going to sell very well. That's fully understandable. And I do believe that if you have someone starting out, they should kind of go on like a very underrated character and prove themselves there first before getting shots at Batman and Spider-Man and all those big characters too. But
yeah,
this is also not reflecting the aspect in the industry that before all of this came into play, there was legendary artists and writers that didn't have this before. There were all this good stuff with like crowdfund. This stuff came way later. And what if some of these guys are like 60, 70 years old? They don't know how all that stuff works. Some people are not, contrary to popular belief, a lot of people are not just dedicated online internet people. Like I imagine Peter David's not just sitting on the internet every day.
Some of us despise the internet sometimes.
Oh, God. But yeah, that's the end of that. So, what are you thinking, man, for your final thoughts and opinions on what the artists make at Marvel and DC?
I think it's sad. I think Marvel's taking advantage of people. I don't agree that like, your part of your pay for your job shouldn't be essentially clout or exposure bucks, where it's like you get exposure drawing our character, we'll let you sell the pages that you drew of our character, and then you can use that name that we gave you to go to and do more work, and you can make money off of that. So it's like essentially just it's exposure. Like we're giving you clout so you can use that clout to make money. So now we're not going to pay you. Like there's bars and restaurants that pay waitresses under minimum wage because they make tips. And it's like, no, if you're working for a big time, you should be making what you're worth and you should be making more. That should be the level of standard when it comes up to, because you're talking about working with IPs, you're going to generate millions of dollars. And if you have a successful run, like the artist for the Ultimate Spider-Man, it's like, well, we're going to pay you dirt cheap, but you're going to use that clout. You can go and do something else, and hopefully people recognize your name from working on our characters. So, yeah, I don't agree with it. I don't like it. I could see, like, I used to dream about working for Marvel. I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
I would rather work on my own stuff. I'd rather spend all month working on my own comic, and then I can sell it and I can have all the money from it and all the rights from it. And I don't have to worry about 14 hands taking chunks out of it. So yeah, I don't agree with it at all. I don't like it. And I think Marvel needs to restructure.
No, they need to and fire most of their people, honestly.
Well, yeah, I said it the nice way.
DC might be a little bit better because of the whole royalty aspect, but then it's like, that's another thing that gets like, okay, well, they're going to definitely put you on characters that are not known at all. So you're not going to have that as a possibility. The collected editions won't sell as well because you're on a character that isn't known. No one's going to really care unless it's literally the best word of mouth of that character that has ever existed in that character that's not known's tenure. You ain't getting shit. What happened with Tim Sheridan? Remember how he said, oh, all the royalties I'll get from this Alan Scott gay Green Lantern book, it'll go to the Elton John's Aid Foundation. Yeah. I'm pretty sure we know the history of that. He made no money. Yeah. DC's like, you could make some royalties, but you're going to get to write, I don't know, Our Man. Fuck it. Here, make Our Man make us money.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, I think also too we have to come to reality too that the business is not great. Comics are not great. Someone mentioned who was it? Oh yeah, John in the chat mentioned Psylocke has shot up in popularity due to Marvel Rivals, which may help out her book a little bit, but they're not seeing a great correlation between popular over here means more people are traveling to comic for that
ever.
Yeah, there's not a great, like, don't get me wrong, like Jeff the Shark, I think it's going to do really well.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean that every character that's loved in the medium over here is going to transfer over. So it's just when you're talking about just the comic side of the media, that's not doing well, and it's not in enough places, and they've got a lot of work to do. So, with DC, if you're working for them, you might have a better chance, because what happens when your story gets put into a DC compact, and then you might be making some money that way.
Might
or
get a DC's finest book.
Imagine you get teamed up with Scott Snyder. Well, now all of a sudden, it's like, we don't recognize you, but you're working with Snyder on this book, along those. There are chances for it, but it's you shouldn't be able to regulate wages based on chances. It's like, I'm going to pay you dirt poor because there's like a 1/1,000,000th of a chance that you might blow up and make shit tons of money and have a movie made after your character. It's kind of just like,
or even that. I know a lot of you guys are. Well, we're fans of the MCU back in the day. You know that movie Captain America: Winter Soldier? It's that is a story written by a comic book writer named Ed Brubaker.
Yeah,
and they paid that guy $1,000 and
yeah,
a trip to the premiere. It was a big story. Even if you weren't a comic book fan and you were just an MCU fan, you probably heard of it. Although there made national headlines, but it was a story that is very known. Jim Starlin, the guy that created Thanos, I think, created Thanos, only got paid $5,000. Keep in mind, these are people's stories that have made Marvel literally billions of dollars. Even Mark Miller, you guys know Mark Miller? Well, he wrote the story called Marvel Civil War comic book. And he also inspired how the Avengers are, like the Ultimates. Nothing. Mark Miller even said he made more money doing Kick-Ass than every book he ever did at Marvel. Every book he did at Marvel. Old Man Logan. He did Civil War. He did the Ultimate X-Men. He did Ultimate X-Men, right? He did the Ultimates. Okay? Just those four right there. The ones that know off the top of my head. He said he made more money doing Kick-Ass than those 4 books.
yeah.
That is actually insane.
Well, that's what's great about that creator owned. That's great about that creator owned, just because you make bigger chunk
he
of the
worked
pie.
on every big character. Mark Miller has literally worked on every big character you can think of. And he obviously got the clout for it. He did. But it's like, there was no guarantee he was ever going to get that Netflix deal. No way Marvel knew back then. Oh, we knew how a streaming service would work. We knew he'd get paid. You didn't know that, you fucking lying sacks of shit.
Because there's a lot more Marvel artists barely surviving than there are getting movies made of their personal IPs. So let's not get too, Marvel needs to, there needs to be like a reality check about, it's like, and here's the thing, Marvel, you're putting out 80 titles and like 3 or 4 of them are doing decently. Maybe you need to cut down titles then and pay the artists that you do keep on more.
Yeah, I think
maybe you need to pay more. Yeah.
It's the thing that video games have, where they're hiring all these people, wasting all this budget, and it's like, you cut all these jobs up that are literally not needed. I don't need a person to hand me coffee. I'm pretty sure we don't need that.
Quality over quantity. Like, don't be chasing trends. Just do quality over quantity, and then pay your people better, and let's build a little bit better of a market than what they've got going on now. Instead, Marvel's like, oh, Deadpool's popular, and let's throw him into 40 books. And it's like, oh, Jeff the Shark, people like him. He starts popping up everywhere, and let's do like 4 Jeff the Shark titles. It's like, no, you're dumping money down trying to chase a trend, when what you should be working on is, let's work on quality books and let's downsize until we can get ourselves where we can have nothing but mostly quality product coming out. A high standard quality product. We're going to pay more and we're going to make a better deal.
And this is the thing that people won't get before we head out of the video, is if you pay the well-known artists what they really want, they'll want to do their best work. And like, guys, do you guys not think Ed Brubaker doesn't want to work for Marvel? Do you think he wants to do random shit at like Image Comics? I'm not, no offense to Image and like Dark Horse and all that shit, but like, this guy, essentially, it's like the idea in the novel world where you create an idea for a book and it just hits big and you're a millionaire or you make a lot of money. Yeah, he probably felt the same way too. He made a story with Captain America: Winter Soldier that a lot of people read in the comic books. It was very well liked. It's been reprinted many times. It was even part of the Marvel Premiere Collection that just started up recently. Winter Soldier is considered the best MCU movie by far, right? And the guy that made that story, the one that it's based off of, hates their guts.
Yeah.
He literally hates them. That's insane. He'll never work for your company ever again. The guy that you used his stories from, and they generated hundreds of millions of dollars because you just didn't want to give him what he was really worth. So what the fuck?
It's ridiculous. It is completely ridiculous, and it's disrespectful, and it's what happens when you forget about who brought you there. Like, you forget about that the creator of the product is just as important as the seller of the product, the packager of the product. Everyone along that line is important. And when you think that you can just kind of swap out writer-artist combinations and produce a product based upon focus group trending, then you're going to fail. And you're going to get to the point where, like with video games, you have studios with thousands of people spending billions of dollars being spanked by a 30-person team in some, Sweden, who and they just spank you on quality, on product, and on everything. And because they're working within their scope, Marvel needs to just downsize this down. And it's like, okay, if we need to go down from 80 titles to 20, then do it. And then slowly build back up again, but build a base based upon quality. And even DC needs to do that, because even though I love the Absolute, there's still a lot of garbage in DC. So it's not like DC's, they're doing better than Marvel, in my opinion. They're trying to reach more people. DC Compacts was a brilliant idea. Getting into dollar stores is a brilliant idea. I think that they're doing good to try to recapture a lost audience. Marvel is starting to fall in line, but just like with Disney, it's almost like they have so much money that they don't notice how much they're losing as fast as other people. So
it's at the point now where no one even wants to go and write X-Men for them or be the head of the X-Men project. That's crazy. You have X-Men and no one wants to go and work for you. So yeah, my final thoughts are, Marvel, this is your fault. And it's crazy how a business strategy you had back in the day that basically borderline bankrupted you. I don't know why they keep the same system. Literally, I'm not even saying you have to pay these people like fucking $100K a year. Just if you raised it to about $50K overall, I promise you will get a little bit more of the people that you discarded back. Like no one wants to basically put in like 100% of something and then you give them 30.
Yeah, they should be doing 50K base with all of the other stuff. Like you get to keep the art and sell it. You get to do the commissions. You do all that stuff, but your base pay should be 50K or more. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, Marvel Comics, you suck ass. And DC, oh, good job put people in a hot girl. Yep. How many collected editions are you selling of that dog shit? So thank you guys for checking out this video. If you guys are returning viewers or new viewers, then please consider subscribing to the channel if you have not already. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it and comment down below. Also, make sure you guys hit the notification bell. That way you guys can get notified on whenever I upload a brand new video. I'm MSK, aka Master Swag King, and we're going to sign out, guys. Peace. All right, we're going to end it here. Just another minute because I got to go to bed for work. I get up around 7:54, 7:45. I got to get up. Oh my God, something like that. I'm fucking blown out. Oh, I have to go die. I'm joking. But anything you want to plug before we head out, man?
No, I'm doing good. Catch us tomorrow on here, and make sure that you like and subscribe MSK's channels.
Yep. As you guys know, tomorrow we'll have the show like around 8:30. I think we'll be reviewing a comic book. I'll just let you know which one we're going to review or whatever, I think, depending on how I feel. Then after that, as you guys know, Saturday, if there's going to be no game streams or no shows, I'll probably go and watch Sinners. So we'll probably have a Sinners open spoiler discussion Monday. But if not, I'm just going to come home and just game stream or something like that. And then Sunday, Cloud9 podcast. And yeah, then Monday, obviously, it starts all back up again. So yeah, thank you guys for checking out this episode of the MSK Show. Have a great weekend, everybody.